welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, or for whenever you're listening, because after all, it's your podcast. Now, joining me today is a gentleman who, he's not one of these people that likes to hide in the shadows. You won't find him sitting in the wings. He's the guy that's kind of standing on stage in a spotlight, but not just a normal spotlight. It's usually a board game cardboard spotlight. So from the Boardgame Spotlight, I'm really proud of this introduction, Derek.
That was a great intro. Let me just applause.
It's Derek Funkhouser from the Boardgame Spotlight. So officially, hello Derek, and welcome to the show, and thank you very, very much for taking the time to come and speak to us today. For people who haven't listened to us before, thank you for listening. It's 2018, it is January. It means that everybody's kind of watching their weight a little bit, maybe trying to get a bit fitter. So rather than the usual fare of food that we have in the green room, we've got fruit, we've got some bran flakes, we've got some freshly squeezed orange juice, so feel free to help yourself before you sit back and relax to what me and Derek are going to have a chat about. For people who haven't listened to us before and are listening to us for the first time, thank you for joining us. The reason that we do this is because we wholeheartedly believe there's not enough podcasts out there about board games. The search continues. In fact, there is only 3 podcasts in Scotland about board games. There's us, there's Unlucky Fraud Gaming, and then there's the First Player Token as well. And the other reason that we're doing this is, at some point when you are on Facebook, you're going to stumble across some board game groups if you're into the hobby. And then you're going to stumble onto some place like the Boardgame Spotlight. And then you're going to see there's a very just charming, very friendly gentleman by the name of Derek, who is always contributing to kind of conversations, who's helping people out, who's generally giving them advice. And when I knew he was kind of working quite closely with good old James Hudson, I said, I have to get this guy on. I can't get away from it. If I don't get Derek on the show, people are going to complain. So that's why I asked him on. So you better be good guest, Derek, because I don't think I've bigged anybody else up.
I have a lot to live up to. I hope that I can provide enough entertainment for the listeners.
Isaac Childress didn't get this build up. I'm just saying. There's no pressure.
My goodness.
But no, I mean, you have you become one of the staple members of the Boardgame Spotlight team. So, but what we're interested in is we're going to find out obviously some stuff about that. But what we'd like to find out is a little bit about your history with the old printed and pressed trees. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your, kind of your history? You can kind of look back in the past. We can have a little stare at the present before we kind of jet off towards the city of the future. So, do you want to tell us how you got into the kind of the hobby in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my family, growing up, I've always been enamored with board games. From even small age, my family, my mom will tell the story when I was 6, 7, 8, designing just silly games that my friend and I could play. For, I believe it was 2nd grade, I decided to build, I had to do a book report on the book Treasure Island. And I had to come up with a creative, I guess you say just a creative solution on doing that book report for Treasure Island, and I chose to tell the story of Treasure Island in a board game. So it was very interesting. I think my mom might still have that, but it was a roll and move, and it was, you go pick up stuff and you have to fight, and it was, so I guess from the very, very early age, I was into board gaming. Your typical Uno and Monopoly, those types of things.
So when you were taking your your girlfriend at the time round to meet your mum for the first time, rather than bring out the baby pictures of you naked on the rug, did she bring out the kind of the Treasure Island kind of?
Well, unfortunately, those baby pictures came out, but I don't think those board game prototypes came out. I'd have to look through. I'd have to look through the closets and the attic for that type of thing. But lo and behold, that happened, and so little did I know that would set really the groundwork for the future for kind of what's happening now. So my family, like I said, always grew up playing any type of game, dice games, card games, you name it, and was about 2014 that I entered into the actual board gaming hobby. The veil was it was like the Wizard of Oz. The veil was brought back, and there was board games, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's a whole other world beyond Monopoly or Settlers of Catan at the time.
Oh, don't. I know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say
no, it's fine.
He who must not be mentioned.
It's fine. But it is. You're right. It is like, you're going from a kind of a sepia-toned or black and white world, and you open up the door and you open it up to kind of like, it's like opening up to Oz.
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, everywhere goes coloured.
It really.
I don't know if they still do the song and dances when people discover the kind of the board game hobby. I think they were kind of like eking them out. You don't get the full kind of welcome and everything like they used to do. But I'm still thinking they're kind of trying to do that. So what was the first? 2014. That's not. You say that. This is the thing. This is when you realise time is going so fast. When you say, well, that's not that long ago, and then you're saying, well, actually, that's 4 years ago now.
Right.
So, do you remember the kind of the? Do you remember? Yeah. he's like, yeah, it wasn't that long. It's like 40 years ago. But what was the kind of the games that kind of first piqued your interest? Do you remember the first ones that you kind of picked up and went,
Absolutely.
What's this?
The first game that really brought me into the hobby was in 2014. I asked for Seven Wonders. And I received that for Christmas, and we still play that game. It is just a fantastic game for my family and I. And that was what piqued my interest into the hobby. I realized that, again, there was another world to this. And so from there, I found Pandemic, Ticket to Ride, all of those essential gateway games, Dominion, all those essential gateway games that kind of help guide a new gamer further down the road. And now 4 years later, I have about 250 games sitting on my shelf with a long list of games that I enjoy playing. I've made a top 10. It's funny how far that you can come in 4 years. But I have a lot of friends in the industry who have been in board games for longer than I have, right? And so I still feel like I'm kind of a baby, like in an infant stage as far as that. But I'm trying to get out there. I'm playing as many games as possible. I'm trying to gain that experience so that I can have, like you said, I want to be able to help as many people as I can on the Boardgame Spotlight. Yeah.
I remember, I think, because I'm probably in a similar boat. I did, maybe started maybe a little bit when I really got back into the hobby again. But then remember having kind of like Jamie Stegmaier on the show and him asking, have you played kind of like Zolkin? And I was like, no, I haven't. Go and ask me another embarrassing question. He's like, have you played Isle of Skye? And it's like, no, I haven't. Can I just go now? Can I just edit out this bit of the show? But, and it's like, oh, I better kind of... It's kind of like... but there's so many games nowadays, you can't kind of cover everything. You have to accept that there's going to be games that you haven't played. And let's face it, there's probably games that you own that you probably haven't
absolutely
played.
There's a shelf of shame, or more so a wall of shame, of games that I've not gotten to yet. But one of my New Year's resolutions is to end the game with as few unplayed games as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When it came to games that do you go for a particular style of game yourself then? Are you, do you like your work? You've mentioned Seven Wonders, so do you like something that's several, complicated, that you're building up a machine, or is there a particular genre that you like to kind of go for over others?
Absolutely. I am a worker placement guy myself, so anything that has to do with worker placement, I will absolutely. I'm like a moth to a flame. I love worker placement games, and then it would be abstract. Really enjoy abstract strategy games, Anatama, Azul, most recently.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And so I'm drawn to those as well. And then I would say third would be kind of your card drafting games, like Seven Wonders.
Yeah.
I do enjoy a good engine building game, Terraforming Mars, games similar to that. So, but I have to say that worker placement has my heart.
Have you managed to get your hands on Charterstone then? Have you been playing that at all? Because I think James Hudson came out and says this is one of the best games he's played in a while, kind of thing. Have you managed yourself to kind of have some time to play that at all?
I have. My wife and I, we're on game 9 of the series. We're trying to finish it out. We're trying to finish strong, and I have been very, very impressed with the mechanics and systems that they created.
Please tell me it's absolutely terrible and I don't need to consider buying it.
If I were to tell you that, I would be lying. It is an absolute. It is just a pleasure to play.
Yeah.
It's fun. You just have such the worker placement aspect was so well integrated with the legacy.
Yeah.
And if anybody requests or says, hey, I want to play a legacy game, I've never played one, my first recommendation is going to be Charterstone.
Oh.
Yeah, that's my first recommendation.
Would that be even over Pandemic Legacy?
So you bring up the evil stepsister for me. I am one of the few that thought Pandemic Legacy was okay. I was not over the moon with it. In fact, I was actually cheering for Gloomhaven to knock Pandemic Legacy off the number one platform. Now, don't get me wrong. The system works incredibly well. Very well designed. I just kind of thought that the story was a little not cheesy, but it was obvious. I knew where it was leading, and like it was kind of like, oh, it signal. I don't know. I just felt like it was. I wasn't blown away.
And you've heard it here first, folks. Derek Funkhouser. Pandemic Legacy is definitely a 6 out of 10. But you know, I'll see your hand and I'll raise it and I'll say that Terraforming Mars for me was the best 5 out of 10 I ever played all year. That didn't get, but that's good because you not liking why you know it's like I don't like Pandemic Legacy. How dare you not like a game that other people really, really like? Okay. What's your point, kind of thing?
I agree.
You know, it's a difficult thing to do. So I take it you must have a lot of Mr. Stegmaier's other games. I take it if I said Viticulture, you'd be like, yeah, it's lovely. Have you played Viticulture? Of course you have.
I have, and I would. I have been known to be a little bit of a Stonemaier fanboy, I suppose you could say. I have, to this date, I have all of Stonemeier's games, dating back to Euphoria, and I have Between Two Cities, though not designed by Jamie, published by Stonemaier.
Yeah.
Scythe has been in my top 5 since it released. So I am a big fan of Stonemaier games.
And it's introduced its own legacy element, I believe, with its with a newer expansion that's coming out for Scythe, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, I mean, they seem to be kind of continually kind of knocking it out of the park. Is there any games you've got your eye on at the moment that you've kind of? I know you probably get exposed to and have access to a reasonable amount of games due to the kind of the board game spotlight. But is there any games that you're kind of, I guess, hunkering for at the moment that you're kind of thinking I'd like to get my hands on like that to kind of have a game of it?
Yes, and this is funny, but some of the games that I am actually pursuing are games that are older. And so I have been trying to track down a game of Orleans for about a year now.
Yeah.
I just need to bite the bullet, and I just need to buy it. But I would, if anybody from TMG listens to this, please reprint that game. I would love to purchase it.
I'll ask John Clare. Because he's my man inside. He's coming back. He's coming back on the show in February to talk about their latest Kickstarter. So we can ask. He could come back on the show. You could ask him yourself, and then just disappear. Just say, I could. I'll just do a question.
I'll hide in the shadows, and then I'll jump him.
Just like surprise. Or that I could do like a question section, and it's just like you having the same question 5 times. When can I get hold of this game? When can I get hold of this game? When can I get hold of this game? Yeah, I mean it's kind of difficult to when you see the bright, the shiny, and the new being pushed out there all the time, to forget that there's some really, really good, decent games. Like I think who was talking that day that I was listening to Polyhedron Collider were talking about, I think it was Suro, which is quite an old game that they were talking, they were kind of ranting and raving about. But yeah, it's kind of like going back and revisiting maybe the older cardboard now that it's become so popular. I mean, it's really kind of reached its heights. What else are you kind of after? What else would you like to get your hands on?
I would love to get my hands on Rajas of the Ganges.
Okay.
Sure, you've potentially seen that released at Essen this last year, 2017.
Yeah.
So I've played that, and that is the reason why I want to purchase it. We had a local convention here this last week, and I had the pleasure of sitting down with a few players that are actually in the Boardgame Spotlight, playing games with them, putting faces with names, and just having a really great social time together. And Rajas of the Ganges was one that hit the table, I believe, 3 times at least.
So you really, really you can't wait to get your hands on that one then?
Oh, absolutely. That one, as soon as I played, shot up to my wish list. I'm sure everybody's got a wish list, right? It keeps growing as more games are on there, but that one went right up into the top 3.
I have a list and forget list. I think there's a lot of games that I kind of like. I'll see it. It's like Euphoria again. You just mentioned it to me. It's reminded me that I really, really need to see if I can get my hands on a copy of it from somewhere, or at least play it. I know of at least 2 people that have got it, and every time they say, "What should we bring at the club this week?" I completely forget that it's got to be, it's like, "Oh, Euphoria, bring it along," because I just want to sample it, because they got the Kickstarter edition, so it's got the really, really nice kind of components and everything like that, the really, really kind of nice finish and everything. So I've always kind of wanted to have a shot of that and kind of play around with that. I mean, where you are just now, with you being part of the kind of the Board Game Spotlight, and for people that haven't heard the Board Game Spotlight, it's a Facebook group. It's a very friendly place. It is kind of like Cheers Bar. You can kind of go in, and there's a lot of people that will know your name. I don't think we have a Woody Harrelson behind the bar yet, but I think the position's kind of, there's so many people there that are just kind of friendly and supportive and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously that allows you to get a look at kind of like a lot of games that are going to be coming out kind of in the future, and also the Kickstarter side of things. I mean, do you back Kickstarters yourself? Is that something that you kind of delve and dabble in at all?
Absolutely. So with the Spotlight, it has really provided a really, really fun opportunity to take a look at Kickstarters that are coming out, and so that's also kind of why I tend to try to pick up older games, because I'm down in the trenches with Kickstarters, previewing them and playing them, and so I do back quite a few games actually. Since working with James, I actually have finally unlocked that coveted super backer status.
He's an enabler.
Yeah,
he's a full-on enabler.
For those of your listeners that don't follow James Hudson on Kickstarter, don't do it.
You've got to wonder if he ever sleeps, because at some point because it's like we're on different time zones, but there'll be times like first thing in the morning where it'll be a message coming through and it's like, James Hudson just backed this on Kickstarter, and it's like, what is he doing? Is he just like has he got it on a diary, wake up and back this? It's probably part of his training plan. He goes out, runs for half an hour, comes back, backs a game, does, some cardio, 50 sit-ups, 50 press-ups, 50 squats, backs another game. Goes, sits down, has a protein shake, some fruit, and some light muesli, and then guess what? Backs another game.
That's about what it sounds like. And so I have backed, and I do back. I love to help fellow Kickstarter contributors and content creators. So I absolutely right now. We have Western Legends on Kickstarter.
Oh yes,
and Spirits of the Forest by Thundergriff Games.
Yeah,
and there are always plenty of games available on Kickstarter to back. There's always something for somebody.
Yeah, I mean we had Kira and Mark on from Colossal Games. They were on just before Christmas talking about Western Legends, and they were I think they were at that apprehensive kind of just before the push of the button stage, just wondering, well, have we figured everything out? Is everything ready? Are we happy with what we've done? And then they've pressed the button and it's just gone like, the 12 o'clock stage with extra horses.
Yeah,
it really has just gone like an absolute rocket. It's one of these. I think it's going to be one of these games that are potentially going to run out of stretch goals.
They have serious. Yeah. I mean, they have just blown through stretch goals and expansions, and it has been so exciting for Colossal with this being their first Kickstarter launch. With Travis and Mark and Kira, hats off to them. They did a wonderful job. Thoroughly enjoyed the game. I can't say enough good things about it. No, I mean it does what you want it to do. It's a sandbox, open world experience. It's quick. Yeah. It offers a lot of player interaction. Very little downtime between players' turns. It's got an old Western theme, which is severely underused, in my opinion. I mean, I was actually joking with Mark that they're going to set off the renaissance of Westerns, just like we've had space operas and zombies. Now we're going to have this just landslide of Western games.
It's going to be Attack of the Killer, zombie cowboys from outer space kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it'll be a cool mini or not game, and it'll come in and it'll do 47 million, and it'll bankrupt a number of people at the same time. Are you the type of person that would do you spread the joy? Are you likely to kind of go in and back kind of smaller projects and kind of like chuck a buck here, there, and everywhere to keep up, or do you concentrate on kind of set projects that you've decided to back, kind of thing?
I have actually started to kind of evolve my strategy as far as Kickstarter goes. In the past and even currently, I have kind of budgeted for games that I know coming out, and I'm really excited to back and help those companies. But at the same time, I don't want to overlook the small publisher, the indie developer, somebody who's just trying to get off the ground, because all of these companies that are putting out AAA titles right now, you think Simon and Thundergriff and Druid City, they had to start somewhere too.
Exactly.
And if they didn't get that dollar or back here from just the average Joe, then maybe they wouldn't be where they are today. And so, yeah, absolutely. I don't back off as much as James. I don't. But I do like to do that.
Yeah, but you'd end up broke, but you would be absolutely so fit and ripped.
Maybe that's the key. Yeah,
Maybe
I
that is
should,
his key.
and I need to get a mohawk too. That's
And a
part of
beard,
it.
and a
And a
big
beard.
beard.
Yes.
But it's an impressive beard. It's quite intimidating. I remember when I first spoke to him on Skype, and I went, Great Merlin's beard. That's impressive. That's a man's beard. But anyway, enough about James Hudson's beard, because I didn't think I would be getting onto that topic so early in the conversation. With you, let's talk about the Board Game Spotlight, because it's kind of come, in my thoughts, it kind of came at a time where maybe the community needed a slightly different approach to how some Facebook groups were being run. I think there was, and I these are my words, they're not Derek's. You can blame me for these, but depending on some groups, there's a certain amount of potential one-upmanship. There's a potential occasional bit of snobbery. There are some people that shut people down when they try to open up conversations, which was happening in certain groups, and also you can also get into the point where people use being in control of a group as a little bit of a power trip, which can happen. And all that leads to is you lead to kind of people joining and then not staying because they don't feel welcome, or not staying because they feel they can't get into the clique, or not staying because the first time that they post something they get shot down by about 50 million people. Mm-hmm. And then across the rainbow, and you'll know where I'm going with this, there was this group of, you called yourselves the Care Bears.
The Care Bear group, yes.
The Care Bear group.
That's us.
Because the board games. I mean, how did you get involved in that? How did you get involved and build up to like your current role within the group itself?
Sure. So I'm sure you're familiar with a longtime member of various Facebook groups, Timothy Gay.
Yeah.
So he and I have been friends for about 2 years now, talking online and kind of just following each other, hyping stuff, promoting, and just having fun. Because that's what I think the hobby's about. It's about having fun. And so he messaged me saying that he heard through the grapevine that James Hudson was looking for a writer, someone else to help kind of manage some things that he needed to done. And this was almost a year ago, so March of 2016. And so I guess, just right place at the right time. And he messaged me, or I messaged him, one of the two, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to bring you on as a trial. So let's write me a few articles. Let's do this, see how it works out, and then in 3 months we'll assess, how it's going." Yeah, no, I mean, and that was cool. I was like, hey, you know what? This is fun. I was already employed full time, so this wasn't like a make or break it for me. And this was definitely a passion. This is a passion of mine, and so did that. Wrote a few articles. Rabbit trail. I go back and I read those articles, and I think, oh my gosh, I have come so far. I have come so far from that time, and so July of 2016 is when he asked me to work part-time for him as a staff writer, writing reviews and doing the Board Games Promotion Spotlight. That was something that was kind of not the norm at the time, and it still isn't. We saw an opportunity for the Board Game Spotlight to grow that brand and to offer Kickstarter creators a great community to be involved with, and then also promote Kickstarter games and to preview them and everything. So July of this last year was when I've been started part-time, and then it's come almost a year later, and I'll be moving down there to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and just diving in head first. I'm the type of person that I always wholeheartedly do something. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to go head first.
Yeah.
And so it is a little bit of a risk to do that, but my family is so supportive. and they are all for it. And I know that James and the Druid City team and the Boardgame Spotlight, fantastic individuals, just great people, and I couldn't ask for better people to work around. So that's really brings me to where we are now, and with the Kickstarter promotions, and even with the community, and I it's difficult to say that what you said, but unfortunately, it's true that some groups do have their own little feel. They're kind of like little like tribes, you know, and so they each have their little way that they're run and their rules, but for the most part, all, you know, cordial enough, but definitely some of the inclusivity wasn't there. People were being excluded. New members, you know, may not have felt quite as comfortable. So I don't want to speak for them, but for the Board Game Spotlight, for us, my vision and my heart for the community is that everybody is welcome. And I know this is James's vision and heart as well. Like, he has told me this, like, everybody's welcome. You're not here to be negative. And we actually caught some flack for these types of feelings where, you know, it's all very positive, there's no negativity, and people are like, oh, well, you're just all positive, all hype all the time. You're not allowing people to be negative. And we addressed the issue, and life's too short to be negative. It's too short to cut people down, to not let them enjoy life, because they're posting because they're excited. And you know, when they do that and then they come back to a notification where the first comment is like, this game is terrible, why are you playing it? You know, that's just going to drive people away. And that was something that we don't allow that. Now, the flip side of that is that we do allow, and I encourage well-constructed negative comments. Like, I am okay with you saying, hey, I didn't enjoy this game. This is why I didn't like it. These are some of the issues I had. That is okay. That is the right way to approach those posts. But when you get the knee-jerk, like, oh, game's terrible, you need to find better games, and then they move on, it's like, you should have taken 5 seconds to just read the post and continue scrolling. Just move on. Yeah.
I can see that. I see that. With, you mentioned, obviously, writing. Because we're going to jump back to that. I mean, with you, is there a notebook with the scribbles and the scrawls of a younger Derek Funkhouser? I mean, have you always done a little bit of writing in your free time?
I have. I have always been kind of the creative type. Writing has been a passion of mine since I was little. You know, some of my friends were always dreading the book reports and the essays and all of that type of thing. And I can't say that I was excited, but it didn't bother me. I just really enjoy creative writing and journalism. I actually went to college, and my major is in English history. So I took a lot of writing classes in college, and so that really, unknown at the time, has helped me so much since, you know, where I'm at in my life right now.
What's your favorite period of English history then?
I like to learn about, and I read and study both the Revolutionary War and and the World War II. Those are my two passions in history as far as the U.S. history. But I honestly enjoy all types of history, dating all the way back to the Renaissance and you know, early period history. I just really enjoy that.
Okay. Did you do anything else in terms of writing? Obviously you talked about the board game article stuff. Were you doing other similar things for other topics, other things like, you know, video games or anything like that at all? Did you kind of do similar type of writing projects for that as well?
No, I didn't. This was my first writing for the Board Game Spotlight, and Druid City Games was my kind of foot in the water. That was my foot in the door, and I didn't write previously for anybody really other than myself. and just kind of creatively, and then obviously just online, trying to be helpful. So because one of my pet peeves is when people don't fully explain, they don't go into as much detail as they might. Well, and it's all personal opinion and dependent on the person, but for me, I'm the type of person that will give you a long wall of text.
Yeah.
I just like to explain, and I like to talk about the board games and things, and other people are very curt and short, and that's fine too, but I like to write. So
Did you self-edit them when you were writing the articles for the Board Game Spotlight, or was James kind of putting a cursory eye over it as well?
No, so from the very beginning, from day one, I was given the reins, kind of the key. He trusted me a lot.
It's like
I was handed the keys to
like
the
your
kingdom.
parents giving you the keys to the car for the first time and saying, "Right now, you be back at 9."
Yeah, he told me what he was looking for and what he wanted, and I said, Roger, I'll move out and I'll take care of it. And so I learned to self-edit. I learned how to kind of navigate, because that's a whole different aspect when you're getting into the whole software and editing online and different web pages and things. So definitely kind of had to navigate my way and learn a few things, but it was good for me. It was what I needed.
What was the first article that you wrote?
The first article I wrote was about Cry Havoc. I wrote a piece. I wrote a review on Cry Havoc.
And how many times did you write that and rewrite it before you put it out there?
It went through a lot of revision before I posted it, and then post-publishing, it went through a couple other revisions. Just as I was like looking, and I'm like, oh man, that isn't quite what I wanted to say, or oh, there's a typo, or just things like that. But I'm very I don't often post without making sure it's ready. At least now. In the early days, it was a little. It was not as clean. It was a little rough around the edges.
And how do you find the time? I mean, this is the big thing. I mean, I know that was it Steve from Polyhedron Collider spoke recently, before a couple of months ago, and basically said, listen guys, we're going to have to take the foot off in terms of the written review stuff, because I don't have time to put them together or play the games in order to give a proper review. And you can end up saying it's like you almost end up in crunch time, that you end up playing a game in order to try and form an opinion, and you end up looking at a game from a critical mind. Now, I don't mean critical mind as a negative, as in looking at a game as what I mean. And you can end up rushing a game, but not necessarily enjoying the game for the fun aspect. So, I mean, did you enter into kind of like a balance? Did you have to allocate yourself kind of certain times where you were playing and then writing up the pieces, or with something like Cry Havoc, was that a game you'd already had a bit of experience on that you'd been playing, so you were just kind of penning the words together?
I did, and that was specifically why I chose that game. I had played often previously, so when I was starting out, I didn't want to start with anything that I didn't really know. And at the time, I started with games that were in my collection. So I started with games that I actually had, and so that was kind of just where I started. And when you get into the review business, or you get into the promotion side of things, you can get a little jaded. I mean, you play games because sometimes they can feel like work, but you still want to have fun. You want to enjoy it, and for the most part, I've been okay with realizing that I can still critically think about a game and the aspects of that, and still enjoy playing it. So I haven't hit the crunch time yet. We'll see what happens. Finding the time is really the biggest thing. A lot of long nights, long weekends. It's not glamorous at all. People see the end product, but they don't see all the things behind the mirror. They don't see everything behind the curtain.
No, I mean, I used to write reviews for video games and put opinion pieces for video games, so I know exactly where you're coming from. That 600 or 800 word piece that you see on the website is probably, there's another 1,400 words which didn't even make it, and there's a whole pile of spellings that kind of haven't kind of got there before. With the Board Game Spotlight, obviously one of the things that you're doing with your promotions and your kind of your articles, it's a paid for service. But do you find that do you get approached quite a lot with people just saying, "Hey, look at this game. If you could put the word out in this game, it would be kind of fantastic"? Or have you been quite strict from the beginning to say, "Guys, this is a professional service, so therefore if you want to use it, there is going to be, there's a transaction involved," and have you been quite kind of strict with that?
We have been strict as far as, so with the package, it involves to be frankly honest, it includes a lot of just fantastic services that we offer. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I guess you could call me biased because I run it, but we really do. We really do. I know you're not going to, but we really do believe what we're offering to creators is going to be beneficial for them. Just in the amount of services that we're offering in the promotion marketing aspect, and so I do take it very seriously, and I do when we have those conversations with content creators. And there have been a few that have said, "Hey, I've got this game coming up. Would you mind giving this a share?" Or really, most of the time what happens is that I'll share projects that I've found that didn't pay us for promotion, but I'm either backing or look really great, and I'll share it myself. And there have been a few that have asked me to share things, and I don't have any issue with sharing a few things out, but it's not going to take precedence over those who have paid. And so those who have paid for the marketing, for our marketing, will obviously take precedence, especially if their Kickstarter is live. So,
Have you found kind of like an increase in the interest? I think one of the things that from running a podcast where we interview creators and ourselves, is that there's quite a hunger for people that need to kind of get the word out there as much as possible. Have you found that there's been, since you've introduced the service, have you noticed that, has it been very busy? Has there been a lot of interest in it?
Absolutely. In fact, it was kind of a trial thing that James and I had James had the brainchild, and I've been executing it, but it was like he was already doing a lot of previews, and honestly was very swamped with the amount of requests he was getting, and so that's where I stepped in. So I went from not only becoming a staff writer, but now I've become a promotion marketer, and then that's kind of when I took over the realm or the reins of the Boardgame Spotlight as one of the admin team.
Yeah.
And so we have seen a very significant increase in the last 6 months for people. We were full from all of July to November, and we specifically took a break during December just so that we could kind of regroup. And there weren't very many Kickstarters that launched in December, so December was the only month in the last since really kicking this off that we weren't full. And even right now in 2018, we're full every week all the way up until March 1st. And so
I can see. I can see that.
Yeah, and so we actually, my wife and I have branched out and created a new service that we're offering now that is going to be a live stream option. And so she and I have really had a great time sitting down at the table and live streaming games. Started just the two of us having fun with games in our collection, things like Azul and Onitama, and then it kind of, we gained some followers, and we're like, hey, this might be something we can do. And we just did Western Legends last week. I believe it was last week when they launched their launch day.
Yeah.
And that just exploded. The video has over 5,000 views already, and just really blew us away with the people that were watching our live stream, because it was a live play, so people that wanted to kind of know about it. So we've started offering that for Kickstarters, but also for retail as well. So we're going to take a look at Sagrada soon, and we're just kind of have fun with it, enjoy kind of like a date night thing. We call it like the couples night. It's specifically tailored more for 2 players. So those of you listeners, those of your listeners or those who watch us who have questions about what are some good 2-player games that I can play with my significant other, then that's kind of what we're highlighting. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all very well kind of setting up the groups and, playing with your friends and stuff like that, but sometimes it's nice to kind of just chill out, with the significant other, stick some cardboard on the table, maybe a glass or 2 of your favourite alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverage. It's entirely up to yourselves if you decide to go down that route, and just kind of spend some kind of time there. Have you I mean, since you've been even involved in the spotlight, have you seen kind of like changes in how even the quality of Kickstarters that are going out there to be funded? Have you seen like even improvements in the art? Is it I've noticed it seems to become really competitive in terms of people what they're trying to offer in terms of the quality of the art that's out there, the production values and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah, we have, and specifically I have. As I start, one of the things that I do, it would be nice, it will be nice eventually to kind of just let our system go and people will come to us, and that still happens. But I'm also very active with going out and contacting and networking creators, saying, hey, we've got these dates available. If you'd love, we'd love to take a look at your game. If you want to use our promotion services. And so I go out and kind of canvas for that kind of thing. But at the same time, the quality of Kickstarter games has increased dramatically in the last year. Even in the last year, it has gotten very competitive. You're right there. And I think that's because Kickstarter has such a spotlight on it, that it's such a great space for new developers to get their game on the market, and also for already established publishers to continue to put out games. And so I am actually very impressed, and I think it's a good shift for the hobby as a whole, because long gone are the days. I mean, even 2 years ago, you can go back and look at old projects where it was okay to put up your Kickstarter project and not have the rules, not even have a finished product, have very few reviews, if none, and still fund. And that's not the case anymore.
No.
So people have voted with their wallets. They have said, these are the standards that we're going to hold publishers and designers and creators to. These are the things that we need to see. And I think that because of that, Kickstarter has gotten very competitive, but it's also increased the quality games that are being published.
Yeah, no, I think the bar continues to be raised. The prices continue to be raised as well, and there is a game that is I think it's been launched today by a rather big label, and I must admit, I took a look over it, I saw the price tag, and I put the phone in the fridge to keep it so it could cool down. I mean, we're talking about the elephant in the room, which is Hate, which is coming out, which is the kind of there was the talk of the old guys around the campfire saying, so when you're thinking about launching your Kickstarter? Oh, January 10th. January 10th. You know that Hate's out on the 15th. Kind of thing. And there was like real kind of, I saw that actually in kind of like a lot of, because I obviously frequent quite a few kind of Kickstarter groups, and that's what I saw. When you're launching, we're launching then. Are you sure? But we'll see. It depends on the market, and there's always, I mean, let's face it, if the Kickstarter market was only for the big fish, then you wouldn't see the likes of Carla at Weird Giraffe Games, or Mark from Orange Nebula kind of putting their, pitching their tent out there, right. Or even, Richard from, doing Dinogenics. I mean, all these guys kind of are smaller first-time developers who've gone on to kind of fund and, fund in some ways and kind of incredibly well. So I think there's space for everybody. I think it's kind of like finding your audience, and it sounds like you guys are helping those people who have spent so much time and so much energy creating something that people can have fun with, that sometimes the marketing and the noise side of things gets left to the wayside, which is, it's then you see a lot of people kind of doing catch up 3 weeks, a month before their Kickstarter going, oh my goodness, I need to market this. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, kind of thing. So that's a kind of a scary thing. Did you think you would actually ever be on the other side of the curtain? I know we used the Wizard of Oz kind of thing. Did you think you would be the guy that would be kind of pulling the levers and, you know, pressing the pedals and using the funny the voice changer thing?
No, never in my wildest dreams did I think that'd be where I am. I was perfectly happy. I was content. I was very, you know, I was having a good time as a consumer, and just having fun playing games, and I still do that. But my whole outlook, I put on different glasses, and now I see things through a whole different lens. And I didn't see myself getting on this side of the curtain, and I'm actually I'm very blessed to be where I am, and I love what Druid City does. I love what we're doing with the Boardgame Spotlight, and I'm really excited to see where that goes in the future. So I never saw myself where I am, but I'm really glad that I'm here.
Does that mean you've got to play Grim Forest? I
have indeed played Grim Forest.
Right, okay. Get Out. It's good, isn't it? It's really good, isn't it?
It is very good. It is a light family game with very good bluffing, fun mechanics with grim fairy tales, and it just looks gorgeous.
I heard that. What's his name? What's his face? Him that does the towery thing, Mr. Tom Vassell, of course. Tom Vassell. How could you forget Tom Vassell? Kind of saying, "Oh, it's just one of the best games I've seen for components. One of the best." Because he said it was one of the best. I don't want to get the quote wrong because I'll get James shouting at me. He says it's some of the best components he's ever seen for a board game. Now that's pretty high praise.
Yes,
that's pretty high praise indeed.
Yes,
though I would have had a word with him, because at the beginning of his videos he still kind of throws all the box of stuff on the table. I don't know about you, but I feel like, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? But so you're going to be, you know, as you say, you're moving, you're going to be working kind of full time for Druid City. So are you going to be getting involved in the game design? I mean, are we going to see a little, you know, are we going to see a little bit of, you know, is there going to be a little bit of the Funkhouser imagination making its way onto the printed and pressed trees?
It's very possible. I have a few things rattling around in my brain. I feel like I'm always multitasking, and I'm always trying to manage a million things at one time. But there are a few games currently being developed that do have my name on them.
Really? That's cool. That's going from like 2014.
Yeah.
And you going, okay, I'm breaking through. I'm just going to play some games. And now, like 4 years later, you're like, yep, here we go. White pieces of paper. Move this here. I'm going to write these rules. I'm going to do like that. That is very, very cool, kind of indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, thank you very much for coming on. I'm aware of the time. I'm aware that you have probably a lot more wonderful and important things to do. Like, let's face it, help promote games, help design games, speak to James probably about stuff, a whole load of cool stuff, write more stuff. Just, you know, you're kind of, I think you're on that level, as I say, the other side of the curtain, where you're probably doing a lot of things that people would actually give their eye teeth to kind of do as well. But if they want to keep an eye on you on the interweb nets, how do they find you? Oh, and by the way, and do check out Derek's stuff, because his writing was is really, really good. It was one of the reasons that I have a copy of Cry Havoc right actually behind me. Because I read your write up on it, and it kind of made me think, well, I'm gonna take a shot at this and see how it goes, So you kind of it kind of helped me make a decision.
Good.
But where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at the Boardgame Spotlight on Facebook, and please join the Facebook group. We are growing every day. We just actually passed 8,000 members, and we would love for you to come on and join, post pictures, enjoy a fellowship of other gamers, and just be inclusive with what we're doing. And you can also find me at Dr. Funk 27 on Twitter. And you can also follow the Board Game Spotlight on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, send me a friend request. I will be your friend. We can talk, we can chat. We can just have a good time together.
Excellent. If you want to keep an eye on what we are up to, there are several places you can find us. We are on Twitter at We're Not Wizards. We're on Facebook at We're Not Wizards. We're on YouTube. But if you search for We're Not Wizards Tabletop Podcast, you will find us there. You can email us at magic@we'renotwizards.com. You can find us on Instagram. We're just on Spreaker and Stitcher and Acast and Podknife, and we're also on App. We're just everywhere. Redbubble. You can buy T-shirts with our nonsense on them. Seriously, just that's not even a lie. That's an actual truth.
That's fantastic.
That's a true statement. If you like what you hear, though, please, if you've liked what you heard tonight, especially if you listened to the first time and you want to hear some more of some of the guests that we've had the likes of Jamie Stegmaier on. We've had James Hudson on twice. I don't know how I managed to persuade him to come on a second time. He's actually potentially coming on another time, so here we go. Please go into Apple Podcasts and drop us a subscription. If you like us even more than that, then consider giving us a rating or a review. If you are going to give us a rating or a review, just don't give us 10 stars, because that will make us big-headed. But don't give us 1, because that will actually make us cry. Give us a 5, because it's in the middle. It's kind of average. And we're decidedly average. But the gentleman who's not being average is the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic, the man I'm extremely jealous of at this moment with what the direction his life is taking. It's Mr. Derek Funkhouser. So thank you very, very much for coming on, Derek.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I have enjoyed this, and I hope that I can do this again in the future.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Open invitation. You need to come on when you've got your first game out.
We can make that happen.
Absolutely, that sounds good. There are only a couple more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Derek?
We are not wizards.
Definitely not. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Derek. Say goodbye, Derek.
Goodbye, everybody. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Douglas Adams, love it. and it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll sixes. Communities are good, communities are important, and there's communities out there that are looking for you. And the Board Game Spotlight is one of them. Pay them a visit. Take a look, stay a while, stay a long time, make some friends, and keep an eye out on what Derek's going to be doing with Druid City Games. They've got continually to be releasing some cracking games. No doubt 2018 is going to be a good year for them as well, especially if the previous years are anything to go by. But until the next time, goodbye.